paper welding is a great if you want to, if you have a great pattern piece of paper. A lot of times I only have one sheet of a piece of paper and I want to carry it to a 2-page spread. What I do is I'll cut it in half and weld it onto another sheet of paper. So if I have a sheet of this paper and a sheet of the oatmeal color paper, oh yeah, they look great together, but I only have one of each. What I would do is cut them each in half and then tape them together. And I will show you how to do that, because when you cut them in half and tape them together, you want to make sure that it's on a line and have enough of an overlay so that you have something to tape to. A lot of times what I'll do is take a strip of scrap paper and just put the papers right up but against each other and tape them onto that scrap paper, and that'll hold them together. But for this one, we're going to actually have a little bit of an overlay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 sheets of your paper with the owls on the back, and it's owls and trees, which I found such a pretty paper, but I loved this side with a tone-on-tone floral design. So what you're going to do is we're going to cut 7 inches of this floral design. But before you cut, make sure your back pattern you're cutting so your owls are going up and down. So what I'm going to do is flip it over so I make sure my owls are going to be up and down, because if I cut it across horizontally, when I go to put it on the next page, you're going to, that we're making, it's just going to be off, because then your owls are going to be sideways. So just make sure your owls are standing up the right way. You're going to cut your paper, and I put it in at the same time. I always, if I need the exact same cut on 2 pieces of paper, I just stack them and put them into my trimmer that way. That way I get the exact same cut. But I'm going to do it one at a time just in case I have to show it twice. So what I'm going to do is cut this at 7 inches. So I'm going to open up the arm of my trimmer, put this on the 7-inch mark. 7 inches. And I am going to cut it down. So we are going to use the 7-inch piece. It's 7 inches wide, flipped over. That's going to be used for this layout. And the other strip, which is 5 inches wide, is going to go aside, because that's going to be part of our next page class. So you want to do that on both sheets of this owl paper. Just cut it, make sure your owls are up and down, put it at your 7-inch mark, and cut. You're going to keep the 7-inch side for this layout, and the 5-inch side is going to be put aside for the next layout. Now we're going to do almost the same thing with our oatmeal piece of paper. The oatmeal piece of paper is going to be, let me just look what we want it to be. We're going to cut it right in half. We're going to cut it at the 6-inch mark. And I'm going to show you how to weld when your papers aren't exactly 6 and 6 inches. So we're going to open your arm again. Take that oatmeal piece of paper and cut it at 6 inches. And you can use any color piece of paper from your pack if you'd rather a different color. I like the oatmeal one with this because it made that sticker strip on my page just really pop out. So I cut that at 6 inches. So I have a piece of the decorative tone-on-tone floral paper with the piece of oatmeal, and one is going to be used for one side and the other set is going to be used for the other side, other page layout. So I'm just going to move the layout, the actual page that we're creating. And you're going to want your mat for this. And I should have said that in the beginning. If you're not working on some kind of mat that lets you see exactly where your page will line up, so that I would put down my piece of oatmeal. And then this piece of tone on tone decorative piece of paper is going to be right within that 12 by 12 inch mark. And that way I know exactly where it's going to lay out. It's going to come out exact as a 12 by 12 layout. If you don't have a mat behind your page to see exactly where that 12 by 12 line is, what you're going to do is take a piece of paper, use a dark color, that'll help you, especially where we're using the light paper on top of it. So take a piece of the dark paper, and then you would know that this is going to go right edge to edge. And when I lay out the other piece of paper on top of it, I'm going to go edge to edge on that brown. And then I know I have that exact 12 by 12 sizing. But let me go back. I don't want to use that.
Alice, are we cutting both the oatmeal papers at 6 inches?
Just one piece.
One piece at 6 inches.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you have one piece cut in 6 inches. So one is going to be used on one side and one is going to be used on the other side.
Makes sense.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that
Got it.
makes
Thank
sense.
you.
Okay. So what I have that one piece of 6 inch by 12 inch strip of oatmeal paper. Like I said, I'm putting it right on that 12 by 12 line on one side of my mat. So I know exactly where, when I lay this out, it's going to be exactly a 12. It's going to come out to be a 12 inch by 12 inch paper. Then I have my strip of decorative paper. Remember, owls on the other side. I'm using this side for this particular layout, this decorative side. What I'm going to do is put just a line of tape, and just tape every so often down the edge of my oatmeal paper. So I have, and it's hard to see with the lighting, but I do have tape along the edge of this. So again, I'm putting that 6 by 12 inch piece of paper on the edge of my lines on my mat that's showing me where the 12 by 12 markings are. Then I'm going to take this 7 by 12 inch piece of paper. I'm going to match up the corners and the lines on my mat to be on that 12 by 12 inch line, and just let it fall in place on top of that tape, and then just press down, and that's going to weld your paper together. So now you have two different pieces of paper. I didn't have to use the whole sheet underneath. You can have it look like this side, but I really liked this side only because of the stickers we're going to use. So once that is taped together, and I'll do the other page again, the other side, so you can see it one more time. But once that is together, it's taped together underneath. But by taking the sticker strip from our stickers, if I take that off and put that on top of the edge where the two papers meet, this sticker strip is going to pop because the brown color really pops out of the page compared to all the light beige color here going on. It also is going to help weld it together because we put tape between the two pages to weld them, but now by adding that sticker strip on top, it just is going to hold them together just that much more. So all I'm going to do is I am going to do it this way. So there's the pattern on the sticker, and I'm just going to do it along that cut edge all the way across. And there is a little pattern on there. It almost looks like the little feathers coming out of the design. So it's going to look like this. And then the other side of the page, I'm going to do exactly the same. And just watch that your pattern sticker is, those little feathers are kind of going in the same direction on each page. So in other words, they're kind of pointing upwards on this page. So I want to make sure when I do it on this page, they're pointing upwards also. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing for the other side of my page. And that's why I use two mats. I actually duct tape my mats together, and I will show you real quick. They're kind of messy underneath because there's always glue and stuff, but I just took packing tape and taped them together so that I can have my 2-page spread. It's just what I do. I saw somebody else do that trick and I was like, oh, I need a second mat because I love them together. And what's great, by duct taping them to on one side, it actually folds up and I can put it in my case to take to a crop. So it's nice to have that double mat to be able to just fold it up and go. So I have this page done. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to lay down my piece of oatmeal paper right on the 12 by 12 inch lines on my mat, and I'm going to put tape along the edge of my oatmeal paper. Okay, so I have tape just along the one side. And then I'm going to take my 7 by 12 inch piece of decorative paper. Remember, owl's on the other side. And I'm just going to lay that on the 12 inch, make sure I line it up with my 12-inch mark on my mat. So it's lined up perfectly on that 12 by 12 inch edge. And just make sure your edges of your paper line up well. And once it's all lined up, then you're going to actually push down on it so that the tape adheres the two pieces of paper together. And then again, I'm going to take the other sticker strip and I'm going to do the same thing. And watching now, I have my 2 pieces of oatmeal in the center. I'm going to make sure that my sticker strip, the little feathers are going the same direction as the other side. So they're both going up. Just if that will upset you, you want to make sure you pay attention to that. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. To me, they really look the same either way, but there is, if I put them up closer to the camera, you can see one, it looks like the little feathers are going up and the other one looks like the feathers are going down. So it was just something I noticed, and I know my eye will go to that. So I'm going to make sure my feathers are going up on each side, and I'm just going to adhere that sticker strip on the edge of both pieces of paper, and that'll just help reinforce your welded pieces of paper together. So then I'm going to take my circle that I had cut out earlier. Where is my circle? Here's my circle I cut out earlier. If you did not cut one out, for that, all I did was I took a piece of navy cardstock and I used the jumbo oval and I cut out the center of the oval with the red blade. Where did I put my blades? They are here. So I would just take my, yes.
Can you tell me what the measurement of the cut circle is?
That is, if you don't have a jumbo circle, that is, let's see. It is about an 8.5 inch, 8 3/4 inch circle.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. And it can be a 6-inch circle. It can be, you know, bigger than that. That's up to you. Whatever you have, it's gonna work. So like I said, I just took that jumbo circle. I used the red blade in the middle. If you don't have that, use a dessert plate that you do have close to that size. Like I said, it was about 8.5, 8 3/4 inch circle. So you can just trace a dessert plate and use that as a circle. Okay, and then, okay, so going back to this, what I did here was I took that circle and I cut it in half. And again, that lesson I did earlier, when you put your paper in your trimmer, there's a little lip on this edge that puts the edge of your paper up against. So if I put a piece of paper in there, I would put it right up against that plastic edge. It's almost like a guide just to keep your paper very straight on your trimmer by putting it up against that edge. Well, that edge is open over the cutting mat. It's open on the top and the bottom, and that's just so the arm can fall into that open, I call it the open well. If you take your circle and put it into that well with the edges of the circle touching this corner of the trimmer and that corner of the trimmer inside that well, when you drop the arm and cut, it's going to cut your circle perfectly in half. I don't know why it does it, but it does it. It's just the way that who's my math person that can say why it does that. It's just a perfect matchup. So take your circle, let it fall into the well between those two edges, and it will line up your circle perfectly, and then fold it down. If you don't have the Creative Memories trimmer, the easiest way to find in half is just take your circle, fold it in half on each end, and then you can line up those two fold marks on your cutting line. And then you'll know, oh, that's exactly where I need to cut my circle. So you're going to cut your circle in half. And then I just taped it on right in the center of my page inside that oatmeal color. Out of tape. Okay, so I just then put tape on the half circle, and I put it on one side. Just right, I put it right up against the edge of the page. I'm actually going to move this one just in about not even a quarter of an inch, just to give a little bit of an outline to that edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the page. Okay, and there's my circle on the page. It's getting very close to being done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a border as I did on this one, and you can actually move your circle up or down to leave a little bit more room for the border if you want. But how I did it, oops, I have my circle. I doubled my borders, and this is something that and this one I used the Home Sweet Home, and I'm going to leave this page on there so you can see it. What I did was I took out my border maker and I punched one border out of the navy blue, and then I punched a border out of that pumpkin plaid color, and then I offset them, meaning I put one border down and then just offset it a little bit, so it almost gave a shadow to my border on the page. And I just wanted a shadow on this one because I wanted it to really pop out, and that blue, that navy blue behind it really made it pop out. So for this one, I'm going to use a different border cartridge because I just wanted you to see different ones. Everybody is going to have a different border. My UPS man is at my door. Yay, products. So this one, I am going to do the mirrored scallop chain border punch, border maker cartridge. Oh, my Danny is a good boy. He is getting my package for me. So you can use any border maker cartridge you have available. That is fine. So for the border maker, you take your piece of paper. This is the paper tray. You just pull it out from underneath. You put your piece of paper into the tray, put down the arm, and the arm actually has a magnet in there. That's actually going to hold your piece of paper in place. And then just take that blue paper tray and fold it back, and it'll snap into the back of the paper holder. And then your paper is sticking out. For those that don't have this or haven't used it in a while, your paper is actually sticking out just enough so that these little legs underneath will catch the border cartridge in there. So there's little legs on the edge of this border cartridge that are going to go in those grooves. So you stick your cartridge into the cartridge holder, and we're just going to put it in, and you'll feel those little legs go in the grooves underneath, but there's also a little notch on top of your border maker. There's a notch right in the center, and that actually lines up with the notches all the way down this paper holder. So when you line up your notches is exactly where you're going to feel those legs go into the groove underneath. So you're just going to punch any border cartridge you want, and you're going to want 2 out of the decorative paper and then 2 out of the navy blue, because we're going to offset that border punch. And I'll show you that in a second, but I'm going to sit here and punch for you for a few minutes. I'm going to show you one other thing. When you're doing your border maker and your paper runs out, so my paper would actually be too narrow up here for me to punch, because the magnet's not going to hold onto that piece of paper because it's not wide enough. What you can do is take a sticky note. I love this little trick. Take a sticky note. So when you have a really thin strip of paper and you want to use it for your border maker cartridge, take a couple of sticky notes and put it on the edge of your paper. Now, when I put that into my border cartridge, the paper tray, and fold it down, the magnet is holding onto the sticky notes. If I had them all the way down, I might do one here too. If I have a long strip and nothing holding on, I'll use about 3 sticky notes just across the bottom here, just across the edge. And that way, when you fold down your arm, it holds the paper in place because it's actually magneting together and holding onto the sticky notes, and the sticky notes holding onto your paper. So I fold the tray back, and then once again, punch one more of these. Okay. I'm just going to get toss out all that border maker debris. And then the same thing, I'm going to want 2 of the same punch with the navy blue. And the reason, again, is I want to offset that border maker punch. It'll look fine on your page without the offset. But to me, it just pops out a little bit more if there's that dark color. And you can actually use the dark brown on this if you would rather the navy. I just thought the navy would kind of pop a little bit more. So you want 2 of each color, 2 of the navy blue, 2 of the pumpkin. Okay. And again, I'm just going to dump out this debris because I don't want that all stuck to my page. There we go. So I'm just going to show you the difference. So on one page, I could just put the border maker punch. This is the mirrored scallop. I could just do it with that pumpkin colored. It looks very pretty, would be fine on my page, but now I'm going to show it to you with the offset of the blue underneath. And to me, it just pops out that much more. And I'll show you how to tape it together in a second. We're just going to offset it just a little bit. Now, to me, it just pops a little bit more out of the page when you have it like with the extra blue behind it. Now, with another item with this particular punch, this mirrored scallop, because it's on each side, I'm only seeing the blue on the bottom. I could actually take this blue one, cut it in half, and I can do that with my trimmer and offset it a different way. So I'm going to put this right in my trimmer on the cutting line and cut right down the center. And this is just for the mirrored scallop one. So I have it, it's a little off centered. That's not going to even be seen. You'll see in just a second. So what I'm going to do for this, just move all my tools, move over my little mat. When you, I'm going to use repositional tape. Repositional tape is actually little tiny glue dots. And what I'm going to do is on the back of the pumpkin strip, I'm just going to put a strip of these glue dots down each side of my border. And I'm going to just tape this onto, I'm just going to let the blue be almost a shadow behind the little tiny ridges of the edge of this border. So I'm just putting the blue edge right behind the edge of the pumpkin. And then I'm going to do it on the other side. That's why I cut it. The reason I cut it was so that I can separate the blue edges and have, whoops, do the other side. A little blue behind. It just gives like almost like a little outline to your, to the pumpkin. Whoops. There we go. So you can see now I have like a little outline. And now when I put that on the page, look at the difference between just the one border and having a little bit of blue on it. It just gives it a little bit more pop on your page. And like I said, I did it with the Home Sweet Home and just offset it just a little bit so that some of that blue shows. It just almost makes an outline for your border punch. So I'm going to do the same thing with this blue one, the other side of the page. And again, for the mirrored scallop, I just put it on the cutting line, right down the center. And when you're doing something this narrow, sometimes it will move because you have nothing to hold it in place. You can take the edge of your scissors. This is another tip. Move your blade without cutting. Just move it to the center. Hold that border strip in there with the end of your scissors. Just put it right between the blades and you can press and cut down and then move it back and then hold the other side and press and cut. That just keeps your paper from moving inside. I do that often. I just use the edge of my scissors and just hold it, put it down in between, and it'll hold that strip in place because it's very hard to hold a strip when there's nothing to hold it on the outsides if it's really narrow. Okay, so we have the next one, and all I'm going to do is put a little of the repositional tape on each side of this and fasten it to the edge of the navy blue border. You guys are also quiet. Everybody's working hard. And then fasten it to the other side. And it's just leaving a little blue border, a little bit of that navy edge to my border strip, just so that it'll pop out of the page that much more. Little edge to this. And then I just put them on my page. So I know everybody has different border makers and whatnot. Another option, if you don't have the, I'm out of more tape. So this is the repositional. And just put this on. If you don't have the border maker, another idea for this page is you could just take a strip of this pumpkin, oops, which I just ripped in half. You can take a strip of the pumpkin and put that, just a 1/2 inch strip of that with a 1/2 inch strip of the blue to offset it. Or you can use a piece of paper from one of the other papers we have, use a strip of this. So instead of, I'm just going to cut this in half. This is 1.5. So we want 75, 3/4 of an inch. And again, I'm going to just hold it in place because it's so narrow. I have nothing to hold on to. So what you can do is just, instead of the border maker, if you don't have a border maker, you can just take a strip of paper and put it across as just a plain strip of paper. You can even do it on both ends, both sides of the paper. So that's up to you how you want to do it, or you can leave it totally without. That's another option. But if you do have a border maker, I would love to see what everybody's doing with different border maker cartridges. And then what we're going to do is, the last thing is, I still had a piece of this pumpkin plaid left over. So what I did was, I had this piece, it was about 4.5 inches wide. So what I did was I cut a 2-inch, I think it is. Let me just quick measure, make sure I'm getting myself right. Nope, it's 1.5. Yep. So what I did was I cut a 1.5 inch strip. My edge was not straight. There we go. So what I'm going to do is just take this piece of paper and I'm going to cut 1.5 inches. So basically you just want 2 strips about 1.5 inches wide. And about 4 inches wide. So it's 4 by 1.5. And I put them on each end. And if you can see, what I did was, I made it into a little banner or flag. And the easiest way to do that is take your strip. You're going to cut into the center of it on one end, about 1/2 inch. Just cut directly into the center. Let me get where you can see it. I think it's the dark blue paper is making it hard to see. There we go. So I'm just going to cut right into the center about 1/2 inch. So you'll see I just have a little slit in there, about 1/2 inch. And then you're going to cut from the corner into the end of that little cut. So it's almost like you're cutting a little triangle out. And then do it on this other side. Same thing, cut from the corner to the tip of that triangle, and it makes a little flag. So you're just kind of notching out the center of it. So you're going to do that on each one of your pages. I mean, each one of your strips. And then what I did was I just tucked it behind, I took that banner and where's my regular tape? And I just tucked it behind my circle. So this is my multi-purpose tool just to get under it. And I just tucked it in behind the circle. And then same thing with the other one. Again, I just cut about a 1/2 inch in a slit down this right in the center of one of the ends of that strip, cut from the corner to the tip of that cut. And it's just notching out like a little triangle out of the end of my strip of paper. And again, I taped it down and put it on the other end opposite on my circle. And just kind of tucked it under my circle. So I have little banners sticking out on both sides. Perfect place to put a little owl to sit on your banners. So we see how my page came together. I'm sure yours are coming together beautifully. This is what I did and how I embellished with the banners. I popped up on this page, I put the little tree. You can put whatever you have left in your embellishment packs. I put the little tree and then popped up with foam squares, the little happy days are here banner under the tree. You can do whatever you want. I'm just giving you some ideas. On this one, I put one of those tabs so I can write a title. And then one sticker is flat, and then this sticker on the bottom is popped up with some foam squares. Just to give it a little dimension. So you can do whatever. I even stuck some little branches in behind my border strip. So you can do whatever. I'm going to let you do that and enjoy finishing your page.